Thank you for watching the video. This is YouTube Medical University. Have you seen any recent news saying that just drinking coffee can prevent dementia? After all those years, the data is pointing in the same direction. So, does that mean you should just drink a lot of coffee? Actually, that's not the case. What's really interesting about this study is that if you don't meet certain conditions, the benefits might disappear. Whether it contains caffeine, how much you drink, what time of day you drink it, and even its relationship with sweetened drinks. Today's video will unravel all of these one by one. In the second half of this video, I'll discuss something that, if you drink it daily, can triple your risk of Alzheimer's dementia. I'll also explain about a certain drink. It's actually something many people have in their daily lives. Please make sure to watch until the end. So, here's today's agenda. In the first section, I'll explain in a simple and easy to understand way why coffee acts as the brain's cleanup crew. And in the second section, we'll get to the main topic, the relationship between coffee and dementia. I'll share what has been discovered from 5 different studies. I'll introduce 6 differences. In the third section, I'll talk about how you should drink coffee starting tomorrow, and I'll answer some frequently asked questions from you all. Is instant coffee okay? Is decaf okay? How many cups are good? I'll answer these questions. Now, let's start with the first section. Why is coffee good for the brain? If you're interested in the main topic, feel free to skip ahead to the second section. Now, imagine the drain pipes in your house. Every day, dirt gradually builds up in those pipes. Today, let's think of those drain pipes as your brain. Our brains actually have a drainage system as well. It's called the glymphatic system, and it works most actively while we sleep. The brain is surrounded by a fluid called cerebrospinal fluid, which helps wash away waste products that build up during the day. That's the role of the glymphatic system. One of these waste products is a protein called amyloid beta. It's known that in the brains of people with Alzheimer's dementia, this amyloid beta accumulates abnormally. This is where coffee comes in. Although this is still at the animal experiment level, caffeine found in coffee has been suggested to potentially suppress the accumulation of amyloid beta. And it's not just caffeine. Coffee also contains hundreds of biologically active substances, such as chlorogenic acid and polyphenols. These substances help suppress inflammation, maintain vascular function, and reduce oxidative stress. Let me give you an analogy using a drain pipe. Caffeine speeds up the flow of water. Polyphenols are like a detergent that coats the inner walls of the pipe, making it harder for dirt to stick. A cup of coffee every morning maintains the brain's drain pipe. That's the image. However, this is just a hypothesis. Please keep in mind that these experiments haven't been conducted directly on the human brain. That's why we need data from humans. I'll talk about that in the next period. If listening up to this point made you think about reconsidering how you drink coffee, please give me a thumbs up if you like. In the next period, I'll be sharing more specific numbers with caffeine. Decaf. I'll also talk about which one is better, so before you forget which channel this is, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel. Now, in the second period, let's discuss the main topic, coffee's relationship to dementia. First, in the JAMA study from February 2026 that I mentioned at the beginning, they divided the amount of caffeinated coffee consumed into 4 groups. These are not just habits at a single point in time, but habits evaluated over several decades, so the reliability is high. Those who drank the most coffee group had about an 18% lower risk of dementia compared to the group that drank the least. If there were 100,000 people over the course of a year and coffee was in the group that drank the least, about 330 people would develop dementia, while in the group that drank the most, it would be about 141 people. Furthermore, it's also related to subjective symptoms. People who drink coffee regularly reported about 15% fewer instances of feeling like they've been forgetting things more often lately. And when it comes to objective, in cognitive tests as well, the group that drank the most coffee had higher cognitive function test scores. And compared to those who didn't drink coffee, their brain aging was pushed back by about 0.6 years. How would you feel if, just by drinking coffee every morning, just as an example, you could keep your brain about half a year younger? And interestingly, in the same study regarding tea, there were also results. This is good news for tea lovers. The group that drank the most tea had about a 14% lower risk of dementia compared to the group that drank the least. And in objective cognitive tests, it seems that tea drinkers scored better than coffee drinkers. Black tea contains an amino acid called theanine, which is expected to help you stay focused while relaxing. Perhaps this ingredient may be working in a positive way to help maintain cognitive function in the brain. If you're not into coffee but can drink black tea, you might still be able to get benefits for your brain from black tea. So far, I've talked about coffee as the first point and black tea as the second. Now for the third difference. What about the difference between caffeinated and decaf? To be straightforward, according to the data this time, decaf coffee did not show the same results. In other words, even if you drink decaf coffee, there was no statistically significant difference. It wasn't a meaningful difference. Even in objective cognitive test data, there were no results showing that people who drank decaf performed better on cognitive tests. This doesn't mean that decaf itself is bad for the brain. There could also be the possibility of bias. For example, someone might like coffee, but among those who choose decaf, there are probably reasons such as having insomnia and wanting to avoid caffeine, experiencing heart palpitations, or being told by a doctor to avoid caffeine. In other words, many people who choose decaf may already have some kind of health issue. So rather than saying decaf is bad or that decaf has no effect, it's possible that the background circumstances that make people choose decaf are influencing the results. And there's another study conducted at Harvard University. Even in a large-scale study that tracked about 50,000 women over 30 years, caffeinated coffee was associated with healthy aging. There was a correlation with healthy aging, but no significant correlation was found with decaf. However, even decaf contains antioxidants like polyphenols, so while caffeinated coffee is statistically more advantageous if you can drink it, I don't think it's correct to say that there's no point in drinking decaf. The fourth difference is the amount you drink. Some of you might be thinking, if it's effective, I should drink a lot of coffee. If you're thinking that, please hold on a moment. Actually, in the JAMA study I mentioned earlier, the group with the lowest risk of dementia was the one that drank about 2 to 3 cups of caffeinated coffee per day. For black tea, it was about 1 to 2 cups per day. On the other hand, drinking more than that didn't really lower the risk any further. The effect plateaued. This is called a dose-response relationship, and it's similar to how medications prescribed at hospitals work. Just because you take twice as much blood pressure medication doesn't mean your blood pressure will drop twice as much. In fact, the medication works up to a certain amount, but taking more than that just increases the side effects. Coffee might work the same way. That's why it's important to drink a moderate amount, about 2 to 3 cups a day. If you drink too much and can't sleep because of the caffeine or start having heart palpitations, it defeats the purpose. The most important thing is to keep it up without overdoing it. And now, the fifth difference. Is it better to drink coffee in the morning, or is it okay to have it in the afternoon or at night? A lot of people are curious about this, right? Actually, in 2025, a timely article was published in the European Heart Journal. The paper tracked about 40,000 American adults for about 10 years, and what this study focused on was, it's not about how much you drink, but when you drink. The conclusion is quite clear. Compared to people who don't drink coffee, those who drink coffee only in the morning had about a 16% lower risk of death. On the other hand, people who drink coffee throughout the day didn't have a significant difference in mortality risk compared to those who don't drink coffee. Why is that? Is the morning really that important? The research team is focusing on something called the circadian rhythm. Simply put, the circadian rhythm is our internal body clock. If you drink coffee in the afternoon or at night, it disrupts the secretion of a hormone called melatonin. When melatonin decreases, your blood pressure rises and oxidative stress in your body increases, which is said to raise the risk of cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases. So, even with the same caffeine, depending on when you drink it, it can have a positive effect on your body, but on the other hand, it can also have a negative effect. So please be careful about this. Considering the amount you drink, as I mentioned earlier, how about limiting coffee to 2 or 3 cups a day, preferably in the morning? For example, after breakfast and before lunch, it might be best to finish drinking it in the morning. And finally, this is the sixth difference. Do you remember? Now, I'll talk about the drink I mentioned in the introduction that increases the risk of Alzheimer's type dementia by about 3 times. This is a study conducted in the United States in 2017. The subjects were about 3,000 people who had suffered a stroke and about 1,500 people who had developed dementia. After tracking these people for 10 years, the group that drank beverages containing artificial sweeteners had a 2.96 times higher risk of ischemic stroke and about a 2.89 times higher risk of dementia compared to those who did not drink them. It's about 3 times, right? These artificially sweetened beverages were associated with about 3 times the risk of dementia. It's well known that these kinds of sweet drinks are a risk factor for lifestyle-related diseases, but I think many people would be surprised to learn that they are also linked to dementia. There are carbonated drinks labeled as diet or juices labeled as zero, right? You might have thought that since they don't contain sugar, they wouldn't make you gain weight and would be good for your health, but actually, these artificial sweeteners may also be related to the risk of dementia. So, what I'd like to recommend here is something like this. If you regularly drink beverages with artificial sweeteners, that actually works to increase your risk of dementia. Replace those with black tea or coffee. By doing so, that difference may lower your future risk of dementia. So instead of taking some supplement or drinking a new beverage to prevent dementia, it's much more realistic and easier to continue if you simply reduce what you're currently drinking and replace it. Here's a summary of part 2 so far. I introduced 6 differences. First, caffeinated coffee lowers the risk of dementia by about 18%. Second, black tea. Black tea also lowers the risk by about 14%. Third, decaf. Decaf did not have the same effect. When it comes to dementia risk, caffeine is the key. Fourth, the optimal amount of coffee is 2 to 3 cups a day, and for tea, 1 to 2 cups. Drinking more than that doesn't provide additional benefits for dementia. Fifth, drinking only in the morning lowers the risk of death, but people who drink it all day don't see this effect. And finally, the 6th point. Sweet drinks and artificial sweeteners may make the risk of dementia about 3 times higher. Rather than adding something, it's important to subtract or replace these kinds of things. What do you think? Now, let's move on to the last section. So, what exactly should you do? I'll summarize the answers to that and some frequently asked questions. Thank you for making it this far. Let's take a short break. Those of you who have listened this far probably care deeply about your own brain health or that of your family. If you know someone who is worried about dementia or wondering if coffee is good for their health, I would be happy if you could share this video with them. Also, since today's video was a bit difficult, I will give a free, easy to read summary on a 1-page summary to those who register on the official Line account. Just type coffee on the official Line. Then I will send you the PDF material for free, so please make use of it. If you found this video interesting, I would appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel. Let's start the third section, which also reviews the second. Watching this part alone will help you change your actions starting tomorrow. If you ever wonder what you should actually do, just re-watch this third section and you'll understand. The key points are coffee and tea. Basically, it's important to establish a morning routine, especially in the morning hours. As for the specific way to drink it, it's best to have about 2 cups between waking up in the morning and lunchtime. There are 3 key points to how you should drink it. First, if possible, please don't add sugar. Also, as I mentioned in the second lecture, artificial sweeteners are not recommended either. Black is best, but if you don't like it, how about adding a small amount of milk? Soy milk is fine too. The second key point is to let it cool before drinking. This is a bit off topic, but drinking very hot coffee or tea actually burns your esophagus and increases the risk of esophageal cancer. There's a possibility of that happening. So when you drink hot coffee, please let it sit for a minute or 2 before drinking. Having iced coffee is also an option. And the third point is to finish drinking it in the morning. If I end up wanting coffee in the afternoon, I sometimes choose decaf coffee, considering the effects of caffeine. If you take in too much caffeine, it can cause insomnia and disrupt your daily rhythm. On the other hand, melatonin can decrease, which may worsen health risks, so please be careful. And lastly, a common question I get is instant coffee okay? To give you the conclusion first, at this point, I think it's better to drink instant coffee than not to drink coffee at all. Actually, if you look at many past studies, they are based on dietary surveys and only look at whether people drink coffee or not. They don't clearly distinguish between brewed coffee and instant coffee. In other words, in these studies, the people who drank coffee, there must have been people who were drinking instant coffee among those considered to be coffee drinkers. However, one thing to keep in mind is that there are differences in the components and the amount of caffeine between coffee you brew yourself and instant coffee. The amount of chlorogenic acid and polyphenols, which are antioxidants, tends to be lower in instant coffee, and the caffeine content is often less than when you brew it yourself. So please think of it this way: if you have a habit of drinking instant coffee every morning, that's much better than not drinking it at all. And if you have the time, you might consider switching to drip coffee. Don't aim for perfection, go at your own pace. This is what I always say here on YouTube Medical University. And finally, let me share the most important thing. As I've mentioned in previous videos, one of the top 4 causes that can be prevented to reduce the risk of dementia is actually isolation. People who are isolated have a higher risk of dementia compared to those who are not. In other words, one of the most important factors in preventing dementia is staying connected with society. The real power of coffee or tea might not just be in the caffeine or polyphenols. It could be in the 30 minutes of laughter with friends over tea at a cafe, or the coffee you share with colleagues in the break room at work. The time you spend with someone might actually be protecting your brain. It may not be the coffee itself, but rather the small conversations and breaks centered around coffee that could be helping to protect your brain. Having a cup of coffee or tea with someone might be one of the best ways to maintain your brain health, something that can't be measured by caffeine alone. Now, let's summarize today's lesson. Coffee and tea. We learned that there are various differences depending on the type, how you drink them, the amount, and the time of day. The first difference is that drinking caffeinated coffee lowers the risk of dementia by 18%. The second is that tea also lowers it by 14%, so even if you don't like coffee, that's okay. Third, decaf did not have the same effect. It's better to have caffeine. Fourth, the optimal amount is 2 to 3 cups of coffee per day and 1 to 2 cups of tea. Drinking too much won't increase the effect. Fifth, if possible, drink it in the morning or before noon. Caffeine in the afternoon or later might actually disrupt your body clock. Sixth, replace sweet drinks and artificial sweeteners with coffee or tea. Just doing this will dramatically change your health risks. And the most important thing, have a cup of coffee with someone. Sharing a cup as part of your social life might actually help maintain your brain health. What do you think? You don't have to do everything all at once by yourself. Try just one thing, like switching your canned coffee to black. If you declare in the comments what you will do, I think it will be helpful for others as well. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, or even a thumbs down is fine. Your feedback is helpful. And I'd be really happy if you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. YouTube Medical University is a place where we work together to improve your health. Well then, that's all for today's lesson. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.